These are assembly instructions for my golf cart. I have 4 wheels for my golf cart, and I'm going to assemble one of them, and all 4 of them go together the exact same way. So I'm going to start with this piece that has those little tabs on either side, and I'm just folding down on all those little tabs. And then I'm taking my bone folder and I'm running it along the edge just to smooth out the edges between my tabs. And I'm doing that on both sides. So at the end I have a little tab with a score line. I'm not folding down on that score line. I'm just using it for placement of my glue. I'm putting glue all over that tab, right to the line. And then I'm bringing the other end over and I'm just placing the other end right on that line. And I want the score lines on either side to match up. I'm pushing in the tabs on one end and I'm pulling out the tabs on the other end, and I'm placing this down on my mat so that all those tabs at the bottom are facing towards the center of my piece. And then I'm taking one of these rounds with the circular cutout in the center and I'm putting glue all around the perimeter of my round. And then I'm dropping it into my shape and I'm going in with my bone folder. I'm pushing on the edges of that circular piece and spreading that glue. So next I'm taking another one of those pieces with the cutout in the center. I'm flipping my piece over and folding down all those tabs. I'm putting glue on 2 of them, and then I'm placing my circular piece over those 2 tabs. I want it perfectly against the edge of those 2 tabs, so the score line of those 2 tabs. And I'm using my reverse tweezers just to make sure that that glue takes. And then I'm covering the rest of those tabs in glue. I'm making sure that the walls of my piece are following that circular shape. So I'm going in with my pokey tool and I'm just applying pressure to make sure that that glue takes. And so then I have another round piece that has a smaller circular cutout in the center. So I've just cut this out of some silver matte vinyl. So I've taken a small piece of transfer tape, stuck it onto my clothing a few times just to remove the worst of the stickiness because I don't want the transfer tape to rip my cardstock. And then I'm placing my wheel on something white so I can see what I'm doing. I want those center holes to be directly on top of one another. And I'm just adhering that vinyl to my cardstock, flipping it over and burnishing it a little. So I'm back to my wheel. So one side is smooth and the other side are all those tabs. So I'm putting glue all over those tabs. I'm taking my decorated circle, layering it on top. I want the edges to be nice and even. And then I'm going to flip my piece over, spreading that glue with the tip of my stylus. I have 4 wheels on my cart, so I'm just going to assemble the 4th wheel the exact same way. So next I have the pieces for the hood of my golf cart. So I'm just folding down on all the score lines for the pieces. You'll notice that 6 of the pieces are numbered. So I'm taking the largest of my pieces and I'm putting glue on the 2 tabs that are on either side. I'm bringing up that triangular side to the edge of my tab. So the cut edge of that triangular tab is right on the score line for my tab. And I'm doing that on both sides. And then I have a piece that has a tab at the top and at the bottom. So I'm putting glue on the largest tab and I'm adhering it to the top of my piece. It fits right along that top flat edge. And then I'm putting glue on the smaller tab that's at the other end. And it fits right on the flat edge on the other side of my piece. The score line of that tab fits right on that flat part. So I have my pieces for the right hand side and the left hand side. Taking piece number 1 and I'm putting glue all along the tab that's on the left hand side of it. I'm gluing my tab as far as it will go at the top and all along the edge of that center piece. So then I'm taking piece number 2, I'm putting glue on that smaller tab and I'm gluing it in right along the top. So the score line on this tab fits right along that angled side at the top. Going back to piece number 1 and putting glue all over the tab that's on the right of it. And then I'm just gluing piece number 2 to piece number 1 right at that tab. And then I'm putting glue on that second tab that's on piece number 2 and I'm tucking it in and gluing it right to that triangular side on my shape. So for piece number 3, I'm putting glue on the tab that's on the left and the tab that's on the right and at the bottom. And from that rectangular bottom opening, I'm slipping my piece inside. I want the cut edges of all 3 sides to be right along the score lines of my tabs. So now I'm using the pieces on the left hand side to do the exact same thing, and they're numbered the same way. So this is the piece that is the back of my golf cart. I'm just folding down on the score lines for it. There are very thin tabs on either side. I have these two side pieces that are going to help me give dimension to my piece. So I have my longest panel on the left hand side, and I'm just putting glue on the tab. I'm matching up my side piece. The bottom of that piece has to go right along my score line. Then I'm putting glue on the two next tabs. The cut edge of my zigzag piece has to be right along the score line of my tabs, and when it changes direction, the score line should be right at the corner where it changes direction. So I'm going to flip my piece over. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So these are the two pieces that I have for the back body of my golf cart. I'm just folding down on all the score lines for both pieces. I'm starting with my black piece. I'm just putting glue on the two tabs that are on either side of this small rectangle. And then I'm bringing the adjacent side upwards. The cut edge of that side is right along my score line, and I'm just gluing my tab in. And I'm doing that on both sides. My tabs are glued to the outside of my box. And then I'm taking my blue piece and I'm flipping my piece over. On the left hand side I have two small rectangles with tabs, and on the right hand side I have small rectangles with no tabs. So that's the one I'm going to be working with. I'm putting glue on all three tabs that are on the top of the piece that I've just assembled. And I'm placing my box down so that it's right over that opening in that piece. I'm going to flip it over, and I want to make sure that the cut edges are right along the score line of my tabs on all three sides. The inner corner of this blue piece should be right at the score line of my black box on both sides. I flip my piece over and spread that glue. Next, I'm moving to these four tabs. I'm putting glue all over them. And then I'm folding my piece in so that my score lines follow the cut edge of the adjacent panel, like so. And I'm doing that on both sides. I'm just tucking my tabs in and folding my piece so that score line is right where that panel changes direction. And I'm just making sure that cut edge is right along the score line of my tab. The score line on the side coincides with the score line on this piece. So now that I've glued those in, working on the right hand side of this piece. So the next score line is a mountain fold, like so. The next one is a valley fold. So I kind of want it in that V position, like so. And then the next one is another mountain fold. So it kind of looks like the letter Z. So I'm just lifting up that panel. I'm putting glue on the next two tabs, and then I'm bringing my panel down and just gluing the cut edge right to the score line of those two tabs. Moving on to the next two tabs on both sides. So I've got this little short tab and then this tiny triangular tab. I'm putting glue on both of them on both sides, and then I'm folding my piece in so it creates a little step. I'm doing that on both sides. So I can go in from this cutout and just apply a little pressure to make sure that everything is glued in properly. I'm going to put glue on the tab that's at the bottom of my black box. It's centered between those two side panels. I'm putting glue on this tab, folding it over, putting glue on the black tab, and then I'm going to bring this piece upwards and positioning the score lines of my tabs right along the edge of that piece that I'm bringing upwards. Then I'm putting glue on the tab that's at the end and tucking it under, and then just gluing it at the top. And I'm doing that on the other side as well. And then I'm slipping glue just under, so just under those side pieces, and then just gluing them on top. So next I have these two pieces. The shorter one goes on the back and the longer one goes on the front. So I'm just folding down on all the score lines. I'm putting glue from the first score line to the second score line, and then I'm folding on the score line. So those two circular cutouts are exactly on top of one another. I'm putting glue on that panel right before the last score line and gluing it in place as well. So this is the piece that I'm using for the front. So I'm putting glue on that segment in between those two pieces with the holes in them, on those little tiny pieces on either side. And then I'm taking this piece that has the two cutouts, and with the glue side down, I'm just inserting both of those pieces inside those cutouts, and I'm pulling them right to the score lines. I'm just spreading that glue. I'm doing that for the wheels at the back as well. You can use a craft dowel here. I actually have a kebab stick. I'm measuring it at 3.5, 3.5 again, and then I'm left with 3. I'm cutting my dowel where I have those markings. So I've got 2 at 3.5 and 1 at 3. So I have these 2 little boxes. I'm just going to make up my boxes by folding on all the score lines, putting glue on that side tab, and then folding the other end over to it. And then on each end, I'm folding down the smaller of the tabs. I'm putting glue on them, and then I'm folding down one end. So I want the sides of this square to be right along the score line. And I'm putting glue on that last panel and folding it over. I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. And then putting my second box together the exact same way. So now that my boxes are assembled, my larger one gets glued in between the 2 pieces for the wheels. The small one fits in between the ones at the rear. So I'm just putting glue on both ends and along one side. And I'm just gluing them in between. And they just fit right in between. So next I'm back to the front of my golf cart, and I have this piece that's the bumper, so the front bumper. I'm just folding down on all the score lines. I've got all my tabs at the top, and I'm putting glue on the center tab. It's just a rectangle. And then I'm taking my bumper piece and I'm gluing that rectangle right to that front panel. Score line of my tab is right against the bottom of my blue piece, right at the center. I'm putting glue on the next 2 tabs and gluing them in place. So one of them just wraps around the side like so. And then I'm putting glue on the tabs on the other side and doing the same thing. So next I have this black piece that has a hole in it and a score line at the bottom. I'm folding down on the score line. I have the hood of my golf cart. I'm putting glue all over that panel and the 2 tabs on either side. And then I'm just taking the black panel and gluing it so the 2 circular cut-ups are right on top of one another. And I'm just gluing down that black panel, like so. And again, this is where I can use that hole that's there and apply a little bit of pressure just to make sure everything sticks. So my blue piece fits in right into my black base. This is the trunk, this is the seating. I'm going to flip my piece over and I'm putting glue all over the underside of this piece. And then I'm positioning it on my black piece. It fits right in between those black sides. And I just want to make sure that the bottom is nicely adhered. So next I have my side pieces. So there's a diagonal score line at the side, just folding on it. I'm putting glue all along that black side piece. And that tab that's on the bumper, I'm matching the bottom of this piece to the bottom of my black piece. And I'm just gluing it in. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. So I've got the front of my truck and I'm putting glue from the score line to the edge on that front tab. I'm folding those tabs inwards on those diagonal score lines, and I'm gluing the back of my cart to that tab. And then I'm putting glue on those tabs. I'm gluing those tiny tabs to the front as well. So next I'm working on my steering wheel. So this is my steering wheel. So I have 6 of these tiny little rounds. So I'm just stacking them up on top of one another, gluing them together. I'm just putting my dowel in the center to help me stack them up on top of one another properly. So next I have a piece that looks like a star. I'm folding down on all the score lines around the center. So I'm putting glue on my little stack of rounds, and I'm just gluing my star piece onto it. So I'm gluing my stacked circles to the center of my star piece. Then I'm putting glue on the underside of my star piece and gluing it to the center of my steering wheel, like so. And then I'm going to take my dowel and I'm positioning it in the center. Before I do that, I'm going to take a Sharpie. I'm just painting my craft dowel black. You don't have to do this, and you could certainly use black paint instead of a Sharpie. So next I have this tiny rectangle and I'm just wrapping it around my dowel just to help give it shape. And I'm covering the inside of it with double-sided tape. And then I'm inserting my craft dowel in the hole that's in the center of my steering wheel, pulling all those little star pieces downwards like so. And then I'm taking my little rectangle and I'm wrapping it around the ends of those star pieces. So next I have this little box and I'm folding down on the score lines for it. So I've got a little square cut out, and then I have 3 tabs. I'm going to put glue on the 3 tabs. So the 2 little ones and the long one. I'm bringing the long side to the other end of that piece. Forms a triangular box. I'm folding in the tabs with the glue on them, bringing the side down. So that forms a triangular box. And so my steering wheel is going to go into that box. Got the hole on this side. I'm putting glue on the panel that's right behind the hole. And then for placement, I'm going to insert my steering wheel and then insert it in the hole that's on the dash. And then I'm just positioning my piece so that I know that my steering wheel fits. I'm just going in from the inside and I'm applying pressure. So for the wheels, I'm going to use some hot glue. So this is my front wheel. I'm inserting my craft dowel. I'm using a Sharpie just to color in the tips of them, make them a little less noticeable. I don't need it in position for the first one. So I'm putting my wheel through the hole. I'm putting glue all over the open side or the undecorated side. I'm holding it close to the end of my dowel and I'm just squeezing a bunch of hot glue right in the middle. Careful not to burn yourself. And then I'm just gluing my decorated layer right on top, holding that in position until my glue hardens. So I'm doing that with both of my dowels. So now that it's cooled down, it's nice and solid, I'm going to insert my wheel into those holes. I'm going to take another wheel and I'm going to do exactly like I did for the last one, only after I've threaded it through that piece. So I'm putting glue all over that perimeter, filling the inner part of my wheel with glue. And then I am positioning that top piece. So you don't want any glue getting onto that support piece or your wheels will not turn. I'm applying pressure to this piece until my glue dries. So I'm doing the exact same thing with my wheels at the back of my cart. And while my glue gun is hot, I'm going to make sure that my steering wheel is positioned exactly where I want it to be. And then I'm going to go in there with my hot glue, drizzle a little bit of hot glue right over the dowel to glue it into place. My wheels spin, that's good. So next I'm going to glue in my front wheel. So I'm just putting glue all around that rectangle. And I'm just inserting my wheel piece and it fits right in there. So I've closed up my access panel as I'm doing that. So next I'm going to work on the seats in my golf cart. So this is the back of my seat and I folded down on the score line at the bottom of it. So there's the decorative pieces for the 2 seats. I'm just going to glue those down. I'm putting glue just at the very bottom, right above that score line and all over that tab. I'm centering it horizontally as best I can and just gluing the back of it to the back of the seat. And then I have my bench piece. I'm putting glue on the underside of it and just gluing my seat down. So now I have the roof pieces. I'm just folding down on all the score lines for them. So I have my roof piece with the rectangular cutout down on my mat. I'm going to take my second roof piece and I'm putting glue on the tab at the end, so from the score line to the edge, and I'm just positioning my piece so that it's glued from corner to corner. The score line of my tab is just along the cut edge of this piece. On either side I have these 2 triangular tabs. I'm just putting glue on them, and then all along the 2 long tabs I'm bringing that panel over, gluing the cut edges of that narrow piece right along the score lines of the tabs, and then I'm putting glue on the triangular tabs on either side and then that tab that's at the end, so from the score line to the end. So I'm carefully tucking that tab inside and I'm just going with my stylus and just spreading that glue. So next I have the 4 support pieces for my roof. So 2 of them have angled tabs at the bottom and 2 of them have straight tabs. So the angular tabs go towards the front of my roof and the straight tabs are at the back. So for all of them I'm just going to put glue on one of the tabs and then I'm going to fold the other tab on top, and then I'm using my craft mat as a guide because I want to glue these so that they are square, so that this is a nice right angle, and I'm going to glue all 4 of them the same way. I'm flipping over my roof piece. I have the tabs that have the straight score lines across them. I have them towards the back. I'm putting glue all over those tabs. I'm gluing them both down right at the corner of my roof. And then for the two others, well, this tab has an angle that goes from the top to the right. So I'm going to put it on the right hand side of my roof. I'm putting glue just as I did for the ones at the back. I'm gluing this piece on with the angled part like so. So this one goes from the highest part to the right over down to the left, and I'm gluing it down on the left hand side. So now I need to glue on my roof pieces. I'm putting glue on the underside, the 4 tabs at the front, so those angled tabs. So I'm just gluing them past that black edge and right to the side. So I've just glued these 2 tabs at an angle right against that angular side of my panel, and these 2 tabs are just glued down on either side like so. And so for the tabs on this one, I just glued one down to the side and one down perpendicularly behind like so. And so that's my little golf cart. So one little detail I almost forgot to add, I have a piece of acetate. I've put very thin double-sided tape on each end, gluing that in as straight as possible as a windshield for my golf cart. And so that's my cardstock golf cart.